I sit here today in front of you guys to let everybody know that I was absolutely 100% right about the Utah Jazz. They're doomed. I made a video months ago, before the season started, the day that Rudy Gobert signed that max $200+ million contract extension for the Utah Jazz, and I sat there and I said, this is going to kill the Utah Jazz for the remainder of the years that he's there. And I got so many dislikes. I got so many comments, hundreds of comments from Jazz fans saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. The Jazz are the best team in the NBA. And while the season is going along, I was continuing to get comments saying the Jazz are the best team in the NBA. Rudy Gobert is the best defender in our generation, this and that. And I stayed true to my point that Rudy Gobert is a liability. He is a liability where Ben Simmons is a liability. Trust me, as a Sixers fan, I know a great defensive player that can't do anything on offense when I see it. Rudy Gobert is that. Rudy Gobert is the downfall of the Utah Jazz. Rudy Gobert is the reason that the Los Angeles Clippers, without Kawhi Leonard, their best player, just beat them. The Jazz were up 2-0 in that series, and they lost 4-2. And that's because of Rudy Gobert. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the family, join the community. Let's get to a K. I'm starting to push out a lot of content right now because it's crunch time, baby. Let's talk about the Jazz. So I made this video months ago, and I said, Rudy Gobert is a fantastic defender. He's one of the best interior defenders that I've ever seen, and I will always be the first one to give him the credit when credit is due. The gravity that Rudy Gobert controls inside of the paint on the defensive end, it's phenomenal. There is a reason that the Utah Jazz have been a top 3 defense over the last 4 or 5 years. It's because of Rudy Gobert. It starts and ends with Rudy Gobert. But the thing that Rudy Gobert does not do is score. The thing that Rudy Gobert can't do is hit free throws. Rudy Gobert is one of the worst offensive players in the NBA. And what is just so funny about that isn't even what killed the Jazz the most. What killed the Jazz the most is Rudy Gobert on defense. Now, you might be sitting there and saying, what? Like, Gobert was still putting up blocks. Gobert was still being a good interior defender. Yeah, he was. But if you watch the games, the Clippers were just completely going small ball against that Jazz team. They had a 5-out offense, and Rudy Gobert is way too slow to contest on shots. And when he does contest, it's an easy blow-by. And that's what the Clippers did for the last 4 games of that series. They took advantage of Rudy Gobert on the defensive end. And then when it comes down to on offense, it's a 4 versus 5 because Rudy Gobert genuinely does nothing. He had big time post matchup mismatch matchups on offense, and the Jazz weren't even looking for him. It came to a point where the best and most viable option for the Jazz to win the series or any game at any point was to sit Rudy Gobert. To sit your highest paid player who's going to be making $40+ million 4 years from now. And the best part is the Jazz fans are just too naive to see it. The difference between Sixers fans and Jazz fans are Jazz fans don't see the problems they have in their max contract player. And the problem is with Sixers fans, they don't even see the good parts of their max contract players. The Sixers only see what Ben Simmons can't do. And now it's much more than what it used to be because he's becoming just a liability on both ends of the court. But Rudy Gobert is equally as bad, guys. Rudy Gobert was a mismatch for the Jazz on both ends of the court for the majority of that series. Once the Clippers figured out, hey, we can just go small, shoot a bunch of threes because the Jazz have 0 perimeter defense. They're just literally just letting the Clippers hoist wide open threes. And it came to the point where the Clippers just had so much confidence that they were literally taking turns driving on Rudy Gobert and just finishing over him. Came to a point where Rudy Gobert can't hit a damn free throw. So he's bricking at least 1 out of 2 every time I saw it. And he's not getting the ball on offense, and he's just awkwardly standing there. Most of the rebounds ended up being long rebounds because the Jazz have to take long shots, and it was the guards on the Clippers that would be getting rebounds. Rudy Gobert was atrocious. And the thing is with Rudy Gobert is his contract is now kicking in. They're in a serious problem. I mean, the Jazz are truly stuck, to say it lightly. I have other choice words for those Jazz fans that swore they were right. And I hate to say I told you so because, I mean, the Sixers really aren't much better right now, but at least they're still alive for a couple more hours. But I told you so. I told you Rudy Gobert is not it. You don't pay a guy $200+ million to literally do nothing on the offensive side of the ball. Difference between Ben Simmons and Rudy Gobert is Gobert's making double the money. You think Ben Simmons is an overpaid player, imagine what Rudy Gobert does. I mean, imagine. Rudy Gobert is the most overrated player in the NBA because he is completely useless in a 7-game series. There is absolutely nothing that he brings to a court against a team who is running a 5-out and has just figured him out in a series, a playoff series, and Rudy Gobert is just going to give you 8, 9 points, give you 12 rebounds maybe, and 1 shot block for $200+ million for the next 5 years. Out of your damn mind if you think Gobert deserves $1 of that. The Jazz fans were in an awkward position because obviously you got to re-sign a guy like that, but the type of guy that Rudy Gobert is not a max contract player. But it's awkward because not many centers in the NBA are really, really good. Rudy Gobert is not an all-NBA player. I understand that he made all-NBA third team, but he's not. He is not an all-NBA player. He is a great regular season player, but players like Ben Simmons, players like Rudy Gobert, one-dimensional guys get absolutely shut down in the playoffs. And that's when you need guys the most. Rudy Gobert is arguably the most overpaid guy in the league. And the moment that his defense just takes a hit in the slightest, that will be media breaking news. I promise you guys. I promise you that will come out a year, 2 years from now when Gobert stops playing defense at the elitist level that he's playing it at. It's going to start coming up as a conversation. Is Gobert the most immovable contract in the NBA? I feel bad for Donovan Mitchell. If I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm not coming back to Utah because there is no way a team with Rudy Gobert making $200+ million will ever win an NBA Finals. They have the most perfectly constructed team that I've ever seen Utah construct around those guys, and yet they still just got breezed through. We're going to give the Sixers a lot of shit for blowing a 26-point lead. The Jazz did the same thing. The Jazz did the same thing in an elimination game. That's even worse. That is way worse. I love to see it, to be honest, because Jazz fans, where are you at now? I was right about your team all along. I'm right about Rudy Gobert, and there's absolutely no denying that I was right about it. I would love for you Jazz fans to comment back on this video, because I'm probably going to go comment on my video from months and months and months ago, just to let you know I'm still thinking about you. I'm still thinking about you. I wanted the Jazz-Sixers finals. Probably not going to get either team in there now, but hey, at least the Jazz lost first. That makes my heart happy. Peace.